Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining today's webinar about fast and effective registration. I've got everybody on mute at the moment just to avoid background noise, but you have a feature in GoToWebinar whereby you can raise your hand virtually. There's a little hand icon. Please feel free to click it at any time if you want to ask a question. I will unmute you and you can ask your question live. I do like interactive webinars, so please feel free to interrupt anytime. It'll make for greater learning and a much better exchange for everybody. Thank you again for joining today. My name is Stéphane Dutrio. I'm the founder and CEO of Poken. I launched the company in 2008, about 6 years ago, and today our team has grown to quite a significant team spread out around the world, both in Europe and in the US, as well as in the Middle East. And we're quite a big team of seasoned meeting planners, experts in the event and trade show industry. We're always happy to share our knowledge and about all of what we've learned from our clients. We've also got quite a good team of mobile and web developers that support our developments, as well as experts in NFC and iBeacon technology. Some of you may have heard of these technologies. They're becoming increasingly influential in events, and we've actually we're starting to be seen as quite a thought leader in the event space because we've built a unique set of tools, mainly focusing on driving engagement, lead generation, and getting across the green message of eliminating paper waste through digital. So we use NFC and iBeacon in a lot of our events to enhance the events with touch to collect concept, but we also have a lot of other pieces to our event suite, some of which we're covering in this webinar series. So today we're talking about registration, but in the past weeks we've covered other topics such as going green and spoken about the untold benefits of going green. There's a recorded webinar available on our website if you want to learn more about that. We also focused on the importance of engaging visitors pre-event and keeping them engaged post-event. And so we ran a webinar on the engagement possibilities brought forward by our web portal and the very rich social media features that are built in. Sticking to today's topic, fast and effective registration, we're going to cover a few different points. First, I'll walk you through standard registration process and illustrate the various pieces. Then we'll talk about on-site badge printing and issuing credentials. And finally, I will show you a few more pieces of our event management system, which is designed to help you streamline your event preparation. Now, we're all familiar with event registration. There's three basic parts to registration. Most of you have experienced or have deployed systems that provide online registration. Of course, the very first and important step is getting your audience to respond and to indicate that they're coming to your event. So we'll show you what tools we have for online registration. We're then going to speak about walk-ins and on-site registration. And finally, cover some of the different possibilities relating to badge printing. When the visitor arrives at an event, their very first experience being welcomed and issued their badge is such an important piece of your event that that's something you really want to make sure is handled properly. Just to give you a little bit of context of our experience and the different thoughts and ideas that we're going to share throughout this webinar, Poken has catered to over 1,700 events, trade shows, conferences over the past 6 years. Most of our events are roughly between 100 visitors and about 20,000 visitors. We do cater to larger events, generally as part of a larger number of suppliers, but we've handled ourselves quite a few events that are in this range. Now, the registration piece is often either assisted, so the visitor who arrives at an event is welcomed by a host or hostess, or self-serve, and we provide both types of solutions. We provide those either ourselves through our tools and our team, or in collaboration with other partners. We've worked with a number of partners in the industry. Some of the companies listed here you probably recognize. We have ongoing events with the likes of Experian, Eventbrite, Congrix, ITN, and so on. So we're very much open to collaborating on the registration piece of an event, our focus being on providing enhanced engagement and many more features. We provide registration when our client wants us to simplify and basically be a one-stop shop provider of technology for their event, but often we'll also involve a partner ourselves by our own accord because we like to bring in the experts when we're dealing with larger shows. Some examples of the types of events or the context, again, in which we're working. This is an example of a smaller sized event. This is a TEDx event of about 200 people. And you can see that the on-site registration is done through tablets. So it's a very simple and light experience. And the badges are printed wirelessly. So for small events, we have a very good solution, very simple, portable, that can be deployed very quickly just about anywhere. At the other end of the scale, I mentioned much larger events. We've been catering to medical industry, travel industry events of a much larger scale, 10 or 11,000 participants, up to 65,000 participants in some cases. And this we do through collaboration with partners. In this example, our partner is a company called Congrix, and the registration or flow is embedded. So we're collaborating fully on this type of event. And here you see how the welcome is assisted by a hostess, so that when the visitor arrives, they can scan their ticket, their badge is printed, and they're issued their credentials on the spot. The reason you would have assisted registration in some cases, of course, is to help with flow. If you have a very large event where you expect everybody to be arriving in waves, you want to make sure that things are very clear, very simple, and that you can move the lines very quickly. So we've catered to all types of situations, both with larger events and small events, and have solutions that are adapted to all of them. Generally, the objective, of course, is to have a solution that is simple, that doesn't interfere with the event context, with the flow of your event. The objective is primarily first to identify the visitor and then to issue them their badge. Whether you identify the visitor through the use of a self-serve solution, such as a tablet, or whether you have them walk up to a desk with a hostess. In both cases, the objective is to get people through very quickly and have their badge issued as quickly as possible. So this is for the on-site. Now, the first part of this webinar, I wanted to take you through a very quick demo because, of course, the online registration is such an important part. You want to make sure that it's simple and straightforward. So I'll walk you through how it works in our case. It's a very simple three-step solution. It can be embedded in your event site or standalone. It's fully customizable and configurable. By configurable, we mean that all of the different pieces can be interchanged, that you can have multiple different types, multiple different flows. If you have different types of visitors, whether they're speaker or an exhibitor or the press and so on, you can have a different series of questions or different process. What I'll do is switch over to my web browser so that I can walk you through an actual registration process. So I have a demo event opened here in my browser. And what I'm going to do is flip between two tabs. On the first tab, I have the visitor experience as they're registering. And then the second tab is our event manager backend. So this is where you as the organizer or your event management team would log in and access all of the backend features that allow you to configure the registration. Right now, I'm logged in as a super admin, so I can see all of our different events, ongoing events, but I will drill down on this one demo event that I have open in this tab so that you can experience the backend and the configuration specifically of this event. Taking you through the different steps for registration. So the link that you send your visitors by email opens up to a page that can be fully branded and customized. And they're taken through a very simple process of inputting their credentials. So I can do the demo for you right now and enter my email address. I'll put a dummy email here. I'll put a dummy email here since it's a demo. So email address and password are two important pieces, of course. Put in a name and a company. Now, all of these different fields can be mandatory or optional. Have the visitor validate the terms and conditions. Now, all of these fields can be customized. I showed you the back end, which is where the event manager will be configuring all of the registration steps. Here, I'll just click over to the survey area so that for this event, you can see where we actually configure the surveys. Here we go. So the surveys are configured in the back end right here. And you'll notice that the visitor is presented with a number of questions, which are fully configurable, of course, whether they're text input or multiple or pick list or multiple choice answers. So just to give you a little example, I'll answer a few questions and step over to the third step. The third step involves registering for some of the mandatory sessions. So not all events will require that the visitor enroll in sessions during registration, but we find that some events want to encourage the visitors to register for the sessions during their event registration. So some of the sessions are selected here for enrollment during registration. So I will just enroll in a few sessions here and then register. Now that takes me straight into the event web portal. So you see how simple and straightforward the registration process was. The second step involved some surveys, and I showed you how these surveys are configured by the event manager on the back end. So if you're logged in as the event manager, you can actually create any type of question you'd like and add it to the registration flow by using the event manager tool. Again, apologies for this slowness. It seems that my connection is quite slow today. Inside the web portal, the event portal, this is a fully branded, fully customized space where the visitor is taken once they finish their registration. You can choose to have surveys appear during registration or not. It's really up to you. You can have a single page registration as well. So this example here shows you an event where all of the information is requested from the visitor in one single page, where you have email address and password, a very short survey, additional contact details, and a registration button. So this registration is done in one single click. The process that I just walked you through a minute ago was a three-step process. Going back to the slides, once the registration is done, the visitor receives an email with a ticket or a print at home badge. The difference is illustrated in this slide. Basically, on the ticket, you have some basic event information and a barcode that can be scanned to issue the badge when the visitor arrives on site. In the case of the print at home badge, it's a single sheet that the visitor can print himself, which contains some practical information about the event, which is fully configurable. These are all settings that you can edit and maintain yourself as the organizer through our event manager tool. And you have the badge at the bottom, which is designed so that the sheet can be folded and then the badge simply slid into a little plastic pouch. The on-site badge solution that we often use is what's called a butterfly badge. Basically, it's a sheet of paper that's printed on-site through a wireless printing, and where the badge at the bottom can simply be peeled off folded in half, and then is issued in the form of a nice solid cardboard badge. Both sides can be printed. All of the content of the badge can be configured, so you can have different information on the front and back, or have the same information if you want a reversible badge. You can have your sponsors' logos on the badge. You can choose to have a scannable QR code or disable that feature. The objective there is for visitors to be able to scan each other and collect their digital business cards. Finally, another option which we use in some instances are card-based badges. So this is the size of a credit card, and typically they'll have RFID or NFC technology, which enables us to create an enhanced experience in the event, in that the visitors can walk around the event and tap their badge on digital touchpoints where they can collect information. Some of you may be familiar with our Poken USB devices, which can be used with a paper badge, and the USB stick is simply used to tap the touch points and collect digital content, whether they're marketing material or session documents or whatever the organizer or the exhibitors want to share through the digital touch points. But in the case of NFC or RFID badges, the badge itself can be tapped to the touch points to collect the content. Now, I mentioned that the tools that we've developed for event managers are quite rich and full-featured. I showed you the registration survey part of the tool, but I'll just give you a quick walkthrough of some of the other features. When you're logged into the event manager and you create your event, you have access to a lot of different angles that allow you to manage your event, whether managing the attendee list, whereby you can actually see all of your registered attendees, so all of the folks that have registered on the web, or administer the touch points, so all of the digital content of the touch points that you developed through the event. You can also manage your exhibitors, and what I'll do is I'll go up to an event that has exhibitors so that I can show you a slightly more relevant example. Now, if I'm the event manager for an event called Expo Next, I would see the multiple events that I've used the Poken platform at to administer all of these different elements. And clicking in through exhibitors, I would see all of my exhibitors. Now, what this allows you to do as an event organizer is, of course, to push off some of the work onto your exhibitors, so that if you create accounts for your exhibitors, they can then log in and administer their own image, administer their content, administer their staff, and so on. And that'll simplify the process for you as the organizer. In the Event Manager tool, you can also manage the event agenda, and this is what appears in the web portal when you've created all of the different agenda items. I'll show you an example of a web portal with an agenda. So here, during the registration process, I showed you a demo web portal. This is an actual live event, an event in Latin America, and what you see are all of the different tools that are used to engage the visitor pre-event and post-event. And one of the features that is currently used very frequently is the meeting scheduling and agenda building. So typically, once you've registered for the event, you're taken into a web portal where you see the schedule, and you can register for different sessions. When you register for the sessions, they appear in your personal agenda, and that'll define the times at which you're taken or you're busy and attending a session versus the times that you're still free to meet with other attendees or with exhibitors. So if you're using matchmaking as part of the feature set, for example, you'd be able to schedule meetings with matching buyers or sellers during your available times. So I took you through the very simple process of online and on-site registration, which is part of the set of tools that we provide. A lot of the other tools are related to increasing engagement, enhancing the experience in the event. I mentioned matchmaking and meeting scheduling, which are two very important tools that are increasingly used in events because participants want to make the best use of their time. Now, these play into what we call attendance tracking, which is holding your visitors accountable to the schedules that they've built. So often we can gamify that in that when your visitors build their schedule and set targets, for example, deciding to attend certain sessions or scheduling meetings with certain exhibitors, they'll obtain points for going to the meetings that they've scheduled. It's a very good way to ensure that the participants in the event actually get what they expected out of the event. So driving behavior is a very important angle to ensuring that your event is successful. Now, for those of you that are not familiar with the other tools that we provide as part of our event suite, a very key angle to enhancing the interactivity and the engagement is the Poken interactive USB stick. So here you see a typical trade show where the USB stick is used to enhance interactivity, engagement, and allow the participants to collect digital content. This is the YMCA General Assembly. It's a show with about 4,500 participants, which are mostly the buyers from the YMCAs from around the country. The exhibitors at this show are companies that are interested to sell services to the YMCAs, companies that would sell anything from sporting equipment to insurance policies or toilet paper. Very simple but important products that the YMCAs need to supply. So in this type of event, the buyers are engaging with the exhibitors not only in their booths, but they're scheduling meetings and engaging with them throughout their time at the show, whether it's in the aisles, at breakfast, at lunch, at dinner. Very important to provide the means for your attendees to engage and network during their entire show. The USB stick is also used to collect digital documents, and this is part of our green initiative, where instead of having large quantities of paper that's basically wasted throughout the show, flyers, catalogs, brochures that people will pick up during the show and ultimately most of the time will throw out, you can collect content digitally by using this interactive USB stick and touching the touch points that are throughout the venue. Touch points that are either deployed by the organizer, as in this case, you can see this picture of the World Trade Organization where the agenda is printed on a large cube and the participants are touching their USB stick to the cube to collect the slide presentations and the presenter biographies. In other events, the touch points will be used by the exhibitors and loaded up with marketing material. So instead of picking up catalogs and brochures and so on, you can pick up the digital information. When the visitors have collected information with their USB stick, they'll receive an email at the end of the day with all of the content that they've collected and the ability to click through and follow up with additional tools online in the web portal. The use of Poken goes beyond just collecting digital documents. A lot of our clients use it to drive behavior and to extract metrics from their event. So there's a very good opportunity to learn from the behaviors of your participants and your exhibitors, in that you can actually track how much engagement is happening at the event, which are the most popular exhibitors or the products or the services that are attracting the most attention, when is the networking happening, and so on and so forth. So we have a number of clients that are interested in the data angle because it allows them to enhance their services in future years. There's, of course, a strong element to enhancing the networking, driving additional engagement, and breaking the ice. It's a fun tool. It's a conversation starter. It's something that's very easy to use and that generally everybody gets pretty excited about as they're going around meeting new people and engaging in a more proactive way. This example here is a very large trade show that we've been catering to for the past 3 years. It's called Indaba, and it's a trade show in South Africa. It's the biggest African travel market trade show. There's about 15,000 visitors and about 1,500 exhibitors who engage with each other digitally. So all of the visitors are equipped with a digital interactive USB stick, and all of the exhibitors have touch points on their booths. Finally, this is an example of how the exhibitors might deploy the touch points in a typical trade show. Here you see some exhibitors that have embedded the touch point in their booth design, and others who have a lighter approach with a placard simply placed on their table or on their desk in the booth. This is another example of a heavy industry trade show that has gone green, and where instead of, again, picking up flyers and brochures and so on, all of the content is collected digitally. So you see how next to each product, there's a touch point on a small placard. Finally, another example of the use of touch points is to obtain feedback from the participants. So this is an example of surveys that are placed on the wall, and where the participants can engage and answer questions dynamically. So this example here is Honeywell in a very large trade show in Germany. And as the participants are on the Honeywell booth, they can both collect documents, engage with the salespeople, but also answer surveys. So it's a very effective way to obtain feedback from a highly specific audience, the audience that has an interest in your products and services. The tool set that we've developed beyond the registration tools is really designed to cater to all of the stakeholders of an event. As an organizer, I'm sure you're very much aware of who your stakeholders are. As the organizer, we help you obtain additional ROI from your event by making your preparation more effective and increasing the engagement. For the exhibitors and the sponsors, the platform we've created is a great way to increase brand awareness and to have much more qualified leads. So we're very big in the lead generation space. And finally, for the attendees, we provide an engaging and fun solution that helps optimize their time at the show. And that's really what being at a show is about, is trying to get the most out of the short time that you're on site. Now at this stage, I'm open to additional questions. If anybody has any questions on the registration angle or any other element from our platform, I'll leave the floor open. I don't see any hands raised at the moment. Please don't forget to use that little panel. And I do see a hand raised from Eva, so I will unmute you, and please go ahead with your question.
Hi, what do you have? What options do you have in terms of reporting?
That's a very good question. So basically, all of the data that's collected throughout any of the steps that you have seen, whether it's through registration, on-site, badge issuance, and so on, all of this data, of course, is available in the reports. So here I have the Event Manager tool, and at the very bottom, you see a number of different reporting links. You can generate charts that will show you basically a summary of the data as it was collected. Some of these, I'm sorry, I'm actually doing this demo on a staging platform, so some of the data is not live. I'll switch over to a live backend. But does this pretty much answer your questions as to where the stats can be found?
Yes, thank you.
Perfect. Do I have any other questions? Okay, so just to answer Ava's question in more detail, as she's the rest of you are thinking about additional questions, I will go into this event. Sorry, go into an event that will actually have some metrics to show. And so you can either generate charts directly in the interface, or you can export all of your data in Excel format so that you can play with the numbers in another system. Now there's full detailed data export that you can do through the lead survey. I'll just show you what that looks like, because I know a lot of organizers are in need of better lead generation for their exhibitors. So if I download the lead gen report, you'll see it appear here, and you'll see how detailed it is. Oh, I also see that I have a question from somebody else, and I will unmute you in a minute, but I'll just finish this demonstration. So as I've generated the full report here, you see how both for an individual exhibitor who has had visitors come to their booth, and for the organizer, you can generate the lead report, which gives you a very, very detailed view of all of the people that have come to your booth, including full address and all of the answers to the survey questions that you've programmed into the system. Okay, the next question we have is from Debashish. I will unmute you. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi. So my question is, how is the pricing mechanism for Poken?
The pricing depends on the type of event that you're running and the size of the event. There is an element of pricing that is per attendee, per visitor. So if you have a 200-person event versus a 10,000-person event, of course, that will have an impact. And then there's pricing per module. So it depends on the different modules that you use. So what I would encourage you to do
Okay.
is to contact us through our contact form. You can go to poken.com/contact and just fill in your basic details, and we will have one of our salespeople get back to you locally. So we have salespeople around the world, and they should be able to cater to you locally. So thank you again for joining. I'll leave the webinar running for another couple of minutes. If you have any further questions, please don't hesitate to raise your hand.